Food is fuel for your body, your mind, and definitely your sport. But let's face it, nutrition is confusing, and the expectations on girls and women to be thin and have a six-pack are exhausting. If you've ever been frustrated with your body, confused about nutrition, obsessed with eating healthy, or guilty when you don't, underate, overate, or overtrained, and overwhelmed with all the pressure, then this podcast is for you. Nutrition can be easy. You can take control of it, but it might start with letting go of control by asking for help and making a change. I'm Lindsay Elizabeth Cortez, sports dietitian and owner of Rise Up Nutrition, where I empower female athletes to overcome nutrition concerns and perform at their highest level, to stop being confused by all the mixed or harmful messages, and finally have confidence in your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. Hi fans, we have another great episode of the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast coming at you today with our guest, Dani Shanahan. She is a professional runner and member of Hoka Northern Arizona Elite, otherwise known as NAZ Elite. She is a graduate of Loyola Marymount University. She signed with Hoka NAZ Elite in 2018. After a first few years that showed potential, but not many breakthroughs, Dani ran under the Olympic standard at the Sound Running track meet last December. So that would be December 2020. And she clocked in at 31 minutes, 22 seconds in the 10K, a personal best of over a minute. And then just a few months after that, she followed up with that breakthrough performance with a 9-second 5K PR, running 15 minutes, 17 seconds. Currently, Dani is coming back from an injury that sidelined her for the rest of the spring, but she's looking forward to getting fit for this fall. And Dani, we're just so excited to have you here. Thanks for joining.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me, Lindsay.
Yeah. So let's start with just kind of congratulating you on your breakout year, and just to kind of paint a little bit of a picture for some people who might not have listened to you on other podcasts or might not know your story and stuff like that. I think it's so awesome for you because you did come, you talk a lot about coming from like a smaller high school, a smaller college where maybe you didn't have the same level of competition or opportunities as some others, but you were a really solid, strong runner with so much potential. And so post-college going pro, what is it like for you to kind of, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but be like, I made it. Like I like reached those breakout performances that I always knew I could.
Yeah, like it was such a good feeling clocking a time like that and being able to do it with my teammates, because multiple of us got under the standard that night. And it was also just like a feeling of, like you mentioned, I went to a small high school. I went to a small college, and I did like not have as many opportunities as someone that was from like a major D1 textbook school. And then I had this like bit of a soul searching kind of phase and early on in my pro career. It's like, okay, I knew I could go and become a professional runner. Like I had that gut feeling, but then once I was there, it was always like, oh, you have the potential to do this, and like telling myself, oh, I'm just chipping away, but like not really putting myself in that position to do something like what I did last fall until that race. So it was just like such a gratifying feeling. It's like, okay, like I can do this. I am capable of competing at this level. And even though it was a huge breakthrough race, it felt like it was more of a beginning than like a culmination of several years.
Oh yeah, that's such an interesting perspective. Now I'm curious to know, like, was it just joining the team, or are there other things, like when you say you like put yourself in a position to finally get that, as opposed to just chipping away? Like you feel like, okay, I'm finally doing the stuff that would result in the performances that I always knew I could expect. Like what were some of the things that might have accounted to that?
Yeah. I mean, a big thing that happened last fall was before my segment really started. Like my coach and I had a sit down conversation where he's like, we talked about how I had run well, but not great. And he was honest and said like, hey, we need to see more from you. And I was like, all right, game on, let's do it. And that whole fall was really just such a huge mental shift. Instead of like seeing myself as someone's like, oh, I'm taking the steps to get there. Just know like you need to put yourself in those positions now. So I shied away from like absolutely nothing and was able to do workouts that I quite honestly like never thought I would be able to do. So that by the time I got to that race in the fall, it wasn't really a question of if I was going to run well. It was more of, okay, how well is she going to run? So yeah, it was mostly a mental shift, but then also like the physical came with that too, because I was able to hit workouts that I hadn't been able to do like 6 months prior.
Yeah, this is like a huge mental shift that I feel like I want to highlight more. It's the difference between saying I could and actually doing. And like we can apply this to your running or anything in life. Like so many people are like, I could do this. I know I can, or let me try, or I'm working on it. Like this very like the goal is 10 steps ahead and I'm working on it, but not seeing yourself actually in that position versus the mindset shift of like, no, I'm doing the things right now. Like I can see myself in that position right now. It's a very like manifesting what you are instead of wishing what you could be. Is that kind of what you experienced?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I haven't like quite thought about it that way, but I think you summed it up really well. And like, there's also nothing wrong about thinking and using process-oriented goals to get you to where you want to go, as long as like you truly believe that you're going to get where you want to go. And I think like combining the two and using them to your advantage to get you to reach the ultimate goal, whatever it is, like that's great.
Yeah, for sure. The reason I was kind of like using that terminology of manifesting it too is because I just got off some calls with my clients where like we were applying that mindset to nutrition instead of like the using words like, well, I'm trying, or like I did a little better at that last meal. And it's like just that subtle mindset shift of like not using the word try, but actually like doing. And I'm not saying trying's bad or anything, but it's this thing of like,
it's the way you approach the trying. It's not like,
yes,
well, I'm going to try and maybe I'll get there, because you'll probably
won't.
And it leaves like a lot of gray and a lot of places to like make excuses and have an out. But if you're like trying with like active process toward your goals, then that's different. There's less gray and there's more of like, okay, like I'm doing the thing.
Exactly.
Whether it's like running an Olympic standard or like hitting your nutrition goals. Like it can be applied in many, many different areas of life.
Yeah. Yeah. At least that's where my brain is connecting the dots right now in this conversation. So no, I think that's awesome. And again, like people always wonder, like when you have breakout performances or just hit a PR, it's always like, what got you there? Like, what's that thing? Right. And the reality is there's 100,000 different things and years of work that you've done. But it is cool to kind of reflect on that and be like, yeah, you had a, deep conversation with your coach and a mindset shift and started kind of stepping up to the plate, sort of, instead of just seeing your potential, actually living your potential.
Yeah. That was last fall.
Yeah. I'm like inspired. I'm empowered right now. That's awesome, Dani. Yeah. Now, as is life, when we have highs, we sometimes have lows too, because then you did struggle with some injuries over this spring, as we mentioned in your bio too. And, so that's always incredibly frustrating. And like we said too, after coming off of like hitting the Olympic standard, you were not able to compete in the Olympic trials because of these injuries. Do you mind sharing with us a bit more about what those injuries were and what this process has been like for you?
Yeah. So I had a really good first half of the spring. I had a lot of the momentum from the fall and was able to carry that into the first half of the segment, where I was like running a bit more mileage than I ever had and had some like really big volume workouts. So like the half marathon workout of my marathoner teammates training, but it was like more than I had ever done, which I don't think was a bad thing, because like it was an Olympic year. So we had to turn the screws a bit and grab the year by its horns and really go for it. Because I have the standard, and if I placed in the top 3, I could have gone, but like I was still kind of more of an underdog. I wasn't going to be a favorite going into the trials. So yeah, I had that really good spring first half, and then the plan was to always break the segment up into 2 parts. So after the first part, I took a down week, right, a little bit after I ran that 5K in March. And then a week later, we started trying to train again. And in the first workout of the second half of the block, I ended up pulling out of it just because I felt like something in my IT band quad area that just didn't feel right. It came out of nowhere. There was no sign that I had any issues in that area, and that basically sidelined me for the rest of the way through. It was really finicky and just took a long time to get it to feel right. And for about 6 to 8 weeks, I was just kind of like back and forth on the elliptigo and then trying to run, elliptigo, trying to run, elliptigo, trying to run. And each week just holding out hope that my body would let me cooperate and like let me do the work that I knew I needed to do. And there was like 1 week where we were like 7 weeks out and it looked like I might be able to do it. And then something else flared up. And at that point, you're faced with a decision at that point. You can either run through pain and be very uncomfortable and likely hurt yourself further just to have a shot at making it to the line and knowing in your gut that you're not going to be able to run to your true potential on the day, but it would be good enough for what it was, or you swallow your pride and you shut it down and you refocus and remember that the Olympics are important, but there are other opportunities. And I couldn't force myself to run through pain, knowing that, not knowing if anything was going to flare up worse again, and knowing that even if I got to the line at the trials, because it still felt like an if at that point, it wasn't going to be the day that I knew I was capable.
Yeah, wouldn't have been your best.
No, it would have been the best of whatever I could have been on the day, but that wasn't worth putting myself potentially in a longer term injury cycle when there's a world championships next year, championships the year after, and then another Olympic year. So it was a tough choice. I still have a hard time wrapping my head around it, if I'm being quite honest, because it ripped my heart out a little bit. But I didn't see another option when it came down to it of what I had to do. So yeah, no trials. I did go and watch my teammates and I cheered and I had others. The longer you're in this sport, the smaller it gets. So I have other people that I know and love that ran at the trials. And we made like a little bit of a vacation out of it for whatever it was. And I did have a good time, but it was hard sitting in the stand knowing like this, I really wanted this to be my day and I'm not even on the line.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it sounds heartbreaking, and I'm sure making that decision felt so difficult, but it's funny because hearing you talk about it now, it's like, no, obviously you did the right thing. Like it just seems like
it doesn't
so
make
clear.
It much better.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make it easier, but I think most people listening to this would be like, yeah, totally. That makes like so much sense and the right thing, and it's best for you and your future career and, you know, your goals for the next coming years and everything. And but in those moments it can be so hard to make that decision. But yeah. And so how is that injury doing now? I mean, I've been following like your Instagram a little bit, and so you are gearing back up and, you know, you are getting those runs in. What does the next few like months look like for you with like getting back into racing, or what's that look like?
Yeah, it's been a little tough. I've never taken this much time off of running before. Like the longest I've been not running was like a 2-week break at the end of the season. And even when I have had injuries in the past, I've been able to come back in like 2-3 weeks. And this was 6 to 8 weeks of back and forth of elliptigo and running.
Totally
and then
different.
2 weeks off, completely off. So it's been challenging, more so than I anticipated. And it's been hard to like get my brain to snap back into training hard, essentially. So we've talked about racing, but for the most part right now, the focus is just to get me feeling like myself again. And then we're going to put things on the schedule whenever that may be. So right now, it's a little bit open-ended. I have some races I may want to do in the fall, but we haven't put anything set in stone yet. And that's been a little bit of a hard pill to swallow, but I'm also okay with it because I don't want to go out and race for the sake of racing and force things if I'm not mentally and physically in a place where I can be my best on the day. So yeah, I've been enjoying like being able to run again and being back with my team and being back in a routine. But at the same time, it's still just kind of remnants of the past tripping in my ear a little. But trying to move on and yeah, have a fresh start in fall and into the new year.
Yeah, actually, I think I did see that on one of your recent social media posts of like, you know, just the difficulty of comparison, comparing where you're at now compared to maybe where you were 6 months ago. And this is something so many people struggle with, whether, you know, through injury or whatever it might be in their life, but definitely injury. But it doesn't mean that you're not going to get back there or beyond, right? And it's just so hard.
My logical brain knows that.
Yes, your logical brain does. And keeping that long-term goal, you know, in mind, but being able to get by day. And I don't know, I guess I'm just thanking you for like sharing that and sharing that honesty, because when you are injured, you feel like you're alone in it. But so many people go through it, but
there's so many people. I'm like, just in like for the years that I've been running, which now is like a good chunk of my life, like there's always someone that I know that's injured, and there's always someone that I know that's like on the up and up and is about to just absolutely crush everyone. And like, then there's some people like in the in between, like coming back and getting back into fitness, but like maybe aren't quite ready to have those big breakthroughs yet. And especially like in the professional running world, someone's always fit at some, like really, really fit at some point in different points of the year, depending on just what people are trying to teach for and where they're at. It's not like NCAA or college or high school where there's very specific times where people, like where everyone's fit. So yeah, like comparing whether you're injured or not injured or fit or not fit, like there's always, you have to be very self-assured and confident in yourself and believe in yourself. So there's always just going to be this swing either way. And you could be the ones that people are looking at and be like, oh, why can't I be running like her? Because you're having your day.
Right. 6 months ago, there was an injured runner out there who was looking at you exactly like that. Yeah. So
it's just trying to keep it in perspective is hard, but like necessary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, with injury, I always get a lot of questions from my clients about their nutrition. Like so many people well, I shouldn't say so many people, but certain athletes, certain people might understand their fueling needs while they're training. But that shift of like, oh my gosh, I have to take 6 to 8 weeks off. And that shift of reducing mileage, reducing volume, reducing training intensity can pose some challenges for people's nutrition. I'm curious to hear from you, Dani, if that's been the case for you or if you felt confident in your nutrition throughout this injury process. Like, do you have any insights to how your nutrition has changed or stayed the same throughout this process for you?
I would say for the most part, it stayed the same. Because, I mean, I basically kind of fall into the category of like, eat until you're full and like, don't restrict things that you like feel like you should restrict. Like if I want to have ice cream for dessert, like I'm going to have that, but I'm not going to eat the whole pint. Like I'm very much like a moderation kind of person. So yeah, like while I was hurt, like sometimes I would want like a sweet treat every now and then instead of sad, and I wasn't going to deprive myself of that.
Good.
I do think that like my body is just working hard in a different way to heal itself. So like I wasn't going to restrict calories or anything. Like I was going to eat until I was full and not like overeat or like overthink it too much. Just stay in tune with what my body and it needs. And yeah, and then just kind of readjust to a bit of a higher intake when I was training again, because that's what my body was telling me it needed at that point. But yeah, it's been interesting in our household right now because it's been a long time since both me and my boyfriend have been like training at a full load. And I think the people at the grocery store think I'm feeding us like a family of four because he's like marathon training and I'm like training at a pretty high capacity right now. And there's a lot of groceries.
Yeah, that's awesome. I want to reiterate a few really awesome things that you just said, which is that just because you were injured, your nutrition didn't change drastically. Like how you ate, how you fueled yourself was still pretty similar. That you're just a pretty like naturally an intuitive person. You're going to eat to satisfy yourself and you're not going to make any drastic changes. And that is so key. I think if I can just get on my pedestal for a moment and preach, you know, so many people are like, well, I can eat more when I train a lot. And if I'm not training, then I have to eat less. And they make this drastic like reduction. And that hurts you because the second key thing that you said is that your body is still working so hard, maybe just in a different way. And that's something so huge with injury is like your body's working so hard to recover and to heal and to get you back to where you want to be. And it just, sure, it doesn't look like a certain mileage or something like that, or a certain amount of sweat dripping off your body, but your body's still doing all that internal work. And so again, that's why you don't want to have any drastic changes or depriving yourself. And then the third thing that I love that you said, besides highlighting ice cream, because I talk about ice cream a lot on this podcast.
I love ice cream.
Me too. And I love that you just kind of brought up, like, it's okay to eat ice cream, like, for emotionally, like, because I wanted it, because I was feeling a little sad. Like, and I think that's so key though, Dani, because like emotional eating sometimes gets a bad reputation and, you know, we can talk about that. But the reality is like, we have emotions as humans and we all need to eat. And so sometimes they happen together and like, that's okay. And food can provide comfort or happiness. Like ice cream makes me happy. It makes me so happy. And like bananas don't make me happy. I don't like bananas.
Beets are my like, no. Like I've tried because they're like supposed to be good for runners because nitrate.
They are.
I can't do it. Like no matter how I've made them, they always have the aftertaste of dirt and they do not bring me joy.
Yeah, well, I will agree with you. I do not do beets in the house. I tried it once. It was a mess and didn't enjoy it, but I will get beets like out. I did it the other week because there was a like arugula beet salad. And I was like, yeah, I haven't had beets in months. And like,
oh, that's a double whammy with the nitrate.
Oh yeah. With the arugula too. Yeah. Yep. So yeah, that was a powerful salad. But yeah, like you have to eat foods that bring you joy, right? And there, when we talk about emotional eating, like emotional eating isn't always a bad thing. Like I'm eating because I'm sad. Like you can eat for happiness too.
Right.
Like
yeah,
so like many.
In college,
things.
I went to school in LA, which is just a great place to find any kind of food you could literally ever want. So like instead of like my boyfriend and I would like go and find cool, fun places to eat instead of like. I mean, we were just kind of lame and just like didn't party a lot our last couple of school years in college. So like, that would be like what we would do on weekends to like find somewhere fun to go eat. So yeah, it can be like a very fun, social. It doesn't just have to be like, oh, I'm eating because I'm sad. It's like, no, I like, I don't know, good cheeses and I'm going to get this charcuterie appetizer because I want bougie cheese and it makes me happy.
Yes. So I think that if we can like change the conversation around emotional eating and have it be like, you know, positive emotional eating, like that's a good thing. And accepting the times when we are upset and food can be a part of that process. Like food might not solve whatever our negative emotions are. You know, we need to process those. We need to deal with those, talk to people about them, but like, it's okay if it's part of.
But a sad grilled cheese can sometimes like put a little Band-Aid on the heart.
Yeah, it might be a Band-Aid. Yeah. Yeah, we still need to get to the root, but it's part of that process. It can be a Band-Aid. Yeah. Well, that's awesome to hear. I should probably do an entire podcast episode one day just about ice cream alone, but
that sounds amazing.
It does, doesn't it? Okay, fans, I'm going to pause this conversation to let you ladies know about the Rise Up Nutrition Coaching Program. We have a lot of ways that we can help clients here at Rise Up Nutrition, and this is one of 2 amazing opportunities to get the direct help you need. With our team of sports dietitians, this program helps adult female athletes fuel to perform without strict dieting. How good does that sound? Finally, you will understand nutrition for day-to-day training, eat intuitively with foods that you love, and be race day or competition day ready with energy and confidence. We have more details about what's included and how we can help on our website, riseupnutritionrun.com/group coaching. Links are in the show notes. But I quickly want to share what a few of our clients have said about their experiences in this program so far. Sophie, a trail runner, says, quote, I really encourage anyone who has struggled with eating and lives an active lifestyle to consider this program, because it's so hard to know if you're fueling properly without someone on the outside looking in from an objective point of view. I now feel confident in my food choices, and more than anything, confident that I can actually eat more and that it will only benefit my health and my training. Sarah, another one of our clients and triathlete, says, quote, for anyone that is struggling with diet culture, a history of disordered eating, and is trying to learn how to eat and fuel, this is a program they should strongly consider. I've been active my whole life, and trying to fit a mainstream diet has never worked. In fact, it's created more problems than good. Working with Rise Up Nutrition has made things very simple. So again, if you are an adult female athlete that wants to perform better without strict dieting, click that link in our show notes to apply to the Rise Up Nutrition Coaching Program, and we would be thrilled to have you join us. Until then, we will get back to the conversation. So you mentioned too, like, as you ramp up your training, though, then it is a kind of, I do need to kick into gear. Maybe I need to fuel more. So it's this funny thing, because you don't have to intentionally like eat less when you're injured. You don't have to do that, but it is being in tune with your body, which I understand can be really difficult for some people. But then sometimes when you do start ramping up, like you mentioned, like, now at the grocery store, like we are buying more. It's because that sometimes does have to be a bit more intentional.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I struggle with more so than with like, I've cut back, so I should adjust because I'm running less. No, it's like the running more, because I think I get into the habit of like, I'll eat this for breakfast and this for lunch, and then I have like a rotation of like 6 different things I make for dinner, and just turning the screw a little bit, like, I should be consuming more at this time of the month or this phase of my training, and like I have a harder time intentionally accounting for that. Like I know that like I do need to eat more as my training load increases. But that's something that like I struggle with too. I like cooking and I like being in the kitchen, but like sometimes it can feel like a little bit of a chore when like the load increases. Not in like a bad way, because like fueling and performing is part of my job, but it's just reminding myself to be intentional about it. That can sometimes be hard.
Yeah. And as your training increases, you have less time because you're training more and and you're more tired. You need to sleep more. You need to do more recovery and rehab. And then now we also need to spend more time getting in an extra snack or, cooking a bigger meal or a batch meal or something like that. Yeah, I agree with you. And I think that's where I talk a lot about, underfueling on this podcast and with my clients, but that underfueling in the sports world can so often be unintentional. And that's one of the reasons. Is just like, I'm so busy and so focused on my training, and it takes more effort to get your nutrition to match it. Now, I'm of the belief that it shouldn't be that much more effort, but we have to like learn that. Like a lot of our habits and behaviors have to change. Like, I don't know for you, but it's having changing what I'm buying at the grocery store. I can't get by with just the same breakfast anymore. I have to change my habit. I have to get to the grocery store maybe twice a week or buy a bigger order. And it's just, changing the habits that I think is the difficulty for most people.
Yeah. And I would also say too, for people that are like so focused on training more, and like that's the main focus. Fueling just that bit more is going to help you recover better. It's going to help you feel better, and it's essentially going to help you get more out of your training. So yes, I do struggle with sometimes like increasing that load as my load increases, but I know like the benefits definitely outweigh like the minor inconvenience of changing originally.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And when you finally get yourself to do it, you feel better. You're like, oh, those aches and pains, that fatigue I was feeling all day long, like you make those shifts and you're like, oh yeah, I do feel better now. So,
like, oh, why do I feel low energy? I don't know, maybe because you increase your mileage and you work out for longer and you need.
Exactly. Yeah. So do you have any, okay, we know you do enjoy ice cream. You hate beets. Do you have any other foods that are like staples for your running or just foods that like you love?
Yeah. Okay. I did kind of give beets a bad rap, but I will say, funnily enough, the one way I've been able to find that I can actually consume them is the Picky Bar beet oatmeal.
Oh yeah.
So I do have that in the mornings. That's kind of been my go-to. It's like, okay, if I hate this vegetable and this is the one way I can eat it, I'll just eat it all the time. So that's a go-to. Sometimes I'll kind of like pre-make like muffin snacks. I have like a sensitive stomach for like secondary runs. So I'll usually just kind of have like a sandwich and like a big brunch, light lunch. So we're on meal number 3. And then dinner, I have like 6 different like main meals that I'll rotate to. And that's kind of like the time in the kitchen where I like get more creative and like kind of enjoy myself more in there instead of just trying to like get fuel in. But yeah, I usually try to keep like a bar on hand, get something in within 30 minutes after eating, and just, yeah, mostly just listen to my body. And if I'm hungry, I'll eat, and if I'm full, I'll stop.
Yeah. Yeah. When we are so busy or during the day, we're super busy, we've got stuff to do, we've got to just keep up with our fueling, just having that mindset of like, this is just fuel. Like I got to get it in, got to get it done. But then when you do have that extra time, so your night times for dinner, or maybe, I don't know if this is the case for you, but for other people, weekends, like that's the time where it's like, okay, let me explore, experiment, enjoy being in the kitchen, make something that I'm really going to like. But you do tapping into that athlete mindset of just like, sometimes food has got to be fuel and I just got to get it in, so that I can prioritize my training and my workouts, and everything that I have to do today is I think a normal approach, because some people do hear me talk about nutrition and kind of this is funny feedback I've gotten from people and some clients, because I'm always like, I love food, enjoy it, food is fun, food is simple, but then when we're like in a rush in the morning, it's like, oh, but I didn't get to enjoy my breakfast. It's like that's okay. Like I don't want you to suffer through and eat something you hate, but like it's okay that food was just fuel and you got it in and you got the job done, and you can enjoy it later on in the day when you really have the time. So it kind of sounds like your schedule too. Yeah. And just to highlight beets again, that's so cool that you found a way to get them in your diet anyways.
The one thing.
But no, I think that's always interesting. So many people who like don't like certain vegetables or certain ingredients that they like, quote, like, no, they should eat, or feel like, but this is healthy for me and I just don't like it. Like you might be surprised at some creative ways. Like I actually invented a smoothie that has broccoli in it and you would never know it. And like, it's possible.
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. It's, I also put cashew butter in it, which I think it's just the unique flavor of cashew butter. And yeah. And you get, some other good stuff, some milk, yogurt, cashew butter, flaxseed, and, just kind of creates like a nutty smoothie, but there's broccoli in it. Yeah.
Who would have
thought?
Possible. Broccoli and a smoothie.
Yeah. Well, this has been super fun, Dani, to chat with you about your professional running and kind of where you're at, just understanding injury and the difficulties that come with that as an athlete, and of course your nutrition philosophy and what works for you. So I have some like fast questions I like to ask at the end of this, just to kind of like blow through if you're ready to play.
Right,
maybe we already know the answer to this one. I'm not sure. But if there is one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would that be?
Cheese.
Cheese. Awesome. But you're from California, right?
Yeah.
Am I right? Yeah. Okay. You're not even from Wisconsin. You just love cheese.
No, I just really like cheese.
Yeah, I do too. This one sounds like an obvious, but you never know. What is your favorite sport to participate in?
I guess my job. Hope I like my job. Probably track.
Track, yeah. And actually, this is something interesting about you too, like being I don't want to make huge assumptions, but like NAS Elite kind of started as like they're well known for like those longer distances. And you are really good on the track, and you love the track and the 5K and the 10K. So I'm getting off topic here, but what's that like for you, to be on a team that is sometimes more focused on some of those like longer distances, and you're really excelling and enjoying the short distances with the air quotes.
I joke I'm the short distance crew with the air quote. Me and Lauren Paquette.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's good. I will say, like training wise, like I definitely feel like I do a lot of like very aerobic based work, but like that works well for me. And I do think that like on the track or on the road or on the grass or cross country, like strength is strength, and you get more bang for your buck by working on that like high aerobic capacity and developing that as much as possible, and then just kind of like throwing in a little bit more like 5K, 10K specific things. I don't feel like pressure that I have to move up to the marathon, but at the same time, I feel primed every time I grab a bottle off of the table and on every single one of our long runs to run a marathon at any given point. But yeah, it's really good. And I think that we have a good balance of people that are definitely marathoners, but they will also like Helen kicks my butt on the track and in track workouts, and so does Steph. So like it's this good balance of like people with different strengths, and that we can like bring that out in each other, whatever the circumstances.
Yeah, that's so cool. Totally got off topic there. See, my rapid fire questions are not rapid fire. I'm learning about myself. So your favorite sport, track for sure. And what about as a spectator? Is that different by chance? What's your favorite sport to watch on the sidelines?
Soccer.
Yeah. Soccer? Yeah. I think you grew up playing that, right? I did
play soccer as a kid, yeah. Like every good California kid, I played soccer and volleyball.
Yeah. Oh, volleyball too. Fun. Yeah. Awesome.
But I'm 5'3", so not much of the future there.
The libero position is, yeah. All right. And then we have a slogan here. We say fierce, fit, and fueled. Fierce in your mindset, fit in your body, and fueled athletically. And I wonder, Dani, if there's a female athlete out there that you want to give a shout out to for being especially fierce, fit, and fueled, whether this is somebody that you know personally or not, who would that be and why?
I mean, the first person that really comes to my mind is Steph. She kicks butt in whatever event she decides to do. She kicks my butt on the daily. And also, like, she has so many, like, allergy restrictions, but is still, like, going above and beyond to, like, find ways to fuel herself. And is just very intentional about all of it. So I definitely look up to her in that, among other things. But yeah, that's the first person that came to my mind.
That's awesome. So for being just a fierce athlete, for staying fueled despite maybe some restrictions that she can't avoid. So shout out to Steph, your teammate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dani, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. It was so great to have you, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you, Lindsay. It's been a pleasure.
I really hope you enjoyed that episode, and thanks for listening. But before I let you go, I have free resources that you can have access to right away, right now, so that you can start fueling your body as a fierce, fit, and fueled female athlete. First, I have your Red S recovery race. If you've ever wondered if you might be struggling with Red S, curious to learn more, or know you have Red S and are looking to recover fast, then you can head to www.riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS and download the Red S Recovery Race. See how you place and figure out the next steps to recovery. Plus, while there, I have a few other great resources for you, including 3 nutrition secrets that every elite athlete swears by, and access to our private Facebook community, Female Athlete Nutrition. So again, to gain access to all of this, head to riseupnutritionrun.com/RedS. That's /REDS. And you can gain access and get the help you need fast. Too many girls and women and female athletes struggle with nutrition, but you don't have to any longer. Become fierce, fit, and fueled. Links in the show notes, and I'll see you next time.